In this lesson, we're going to review over a story called Persuasion. So remember that it's always important to read the questions and then find the answers in the story they give you. So let's read the questions first. Why do you think Anne and her father and sister must move out of their home? Okay, so we have to pay attention to Anne, her father, and why they moved out of their home. So kind of keep that in the back of your head. Why does Lady Russell, so we know we have to pay attention to somebody named Lady Russell. Let's see, why did she reach the conclusion that Anne would be living in Bath? So that's probably in reference to the city, not like the shower bathtub. Um, okay, so why does she reach that conclusion? So pretty much anytime that this person's name comes up, we have to pay attention. And this last part, why does Lady Russell, so she's important again, agree with Sir Walter, so we know we have to pay attention to his name, that moving into a smaller house in the same neighborhood would be a bad idea. Okay, so now that we've read the questions, we kind of have a general idea what they're going to ask us. So why about moving in a house is a bad idea? Let's see, would Anne be living in Bath? And why do you think Anne and her father must move out of their home? So I've never read the story before, and I want to have that same kind of nervousness that any student, especially a student taking a test, feels, because otherwise it doesn't help students at all if I know the answers or if I know the questions first. That doesn't do anything. So that way I can kind of guide you through the nervousness I feel and that you might feel when you're taking a test or a practice test, and kind of give you the steps to help you get over them kind of step by step. So let's see. Starting off, it says, Lady Russell felt obliged to oppose her dear Anne's known wishes. Okay, so we already know immediately Lady Russell, we're talking about her, and Anne. Okay, let's keep going. It would be too much to expect Sir Walter, and we know we have to pay attention to that name because that's the last question, to descend into a small house in his own neighborhood. Anne herself would have found the mortifications of it more than she foresaw, and to Sir Walter's feelings they must have been dreadful. And with regard to Anne's dislike of Bath, she considered it as a prejudice and a mistake arising. Okay, so we know Anne doesn't like Bath, and let's see. So we know that kind of might talk about why um, Lady Russell would talk about her living there. So that's good. We're kind of on the right track. She considered it as a prejudice and a mistake arising, first, from the circumstance of her having been 3 years at school there, after her mother's death, and secondly, from her happening to be not in perfectly good spirits, the only winter which she had afterwards spent there with herself. Okay, so that really doesn't say too much, especially why she should move out of her own home. Let's see, it would be too much to expect to descend into a small house in his own neighborhood. Let's see, maybe, well, I don't know, maybe that answers the question. Let's see, let's look at the answers, because we might not have to read any more if the answers are already there. Let's see. It has structural problems and it is unsafe to live in. Well, it doesn't say anything about that, or maybe not yet, so let's kind of keep that one open. Let's see, they can no longer afford so large a house. Let's see, their furniture will no longer fit in the house, and they must leave town. No, it doesn't say anything about that. It just says she felt obliged to oppose her wishes, and it's too much to expect him to descend to a small house in his own neighborhood. So maybe if they said something about, um, well, well, it doesn't really say. That's more about pride, not so much they can't afford a large house. So let's keep reading. Maybe we'll find which one is the best answer. Let's see, Lady Russell was fond of Bath, in short, and disposed to think it must suit them all. As and as to her young friend's health, by passing all the warm months with her at Kellynch Lodge, every danger would be avoided, and it was in fact a change which must both do health and spirits good. Anne had been too little from home, too little seen. Her spirits were not high. A larger society would improve them. She wanted her to be more known. Okay, so that seems to be this paragraph seems to be kind of related to the second question. And usually, when they have questions, say like question 1, question 2, and question 3, as you read through the article, usually the first question you'll be able to answer before question 2 and before question 3. So that kind of leads me to believe I should reread this first paragraph. But let's keep reading a little bit. Maybe we'll find a little bit more information as to why they must move out of their home to answer that first question. And if not, we'll have to reread the first paragraph. Let's see, the undesirableness of any other house in the same neighborhood for Sir Walter was certainly much strengthened by one part. Okay, so now we're kind of getting to it. And a very material part of the scheme, which had been happily engrafted on the beginning. He was not only to quit his home, but to see it in the hands of others, a trial of fortitude which stronger heads than Sir Walter have found too much. Kellynch Hall was to be let. This, however, was a profound secret, not to be breathed beyond their own circle. Okay, so let's see. He doesn't want to give it up. So let's see, but it doesn't really describe why. A very material part of the scheme, which had been happily grafted, really doesn't say too much. Let's see, but to see it in the hands of others. No, let's see, let's keep reading. Sir Walter could not have borne the degradation of being known to design letting his house. Okay, so let's look at the answers, because we've read everything, so we know the answer has to be in there somewhere. Okay, it has structural problems and is unsafe to live in. Okay, we definitely know it's not that. They never mention that. Okay, so now we're down to 3 answers. They can no longer afford so large a house. Okay, well, we know they have to give it up and they have to let it. They have to give it up to other people. And we know in the first paragraph they talk about descending to a smaller house. So we know that kind of potentially might have something to do with money. So that's at least a maybe. Okay, I'll give it that. C, their furniture will no longer fit in their house. Okay, they never say anything about furniture. So scratch that one out completely. And they must leave town. Okay, well, we know it has nothing to do with that because mainly it talks about him just being very prideful that he doesn't want to give his house up. So it's definitely not that one. So even though they don't say it directly, they say it kind of indirectly. He doesn't want to go to a smaller house and he just feels prideful in this bottom paragraph, to give his house up. So that means the best answer here for this question is going to be B. They can no longer afford so large a house. All right, let's move on to the next question. How does Lady Russell reach the conclusion that Anne would like living in Bath? Okay, well, we know kind of down here, it says Anne has been too little from home, too little seen. Her spirits were not high. A larger society would improve them. Let's see, it's kind of unhighlight that so we can read it a little bit better. Let's see, a larger society would improve them. So we know that she wasn't feeling very well, and a larger society or larger city or larger group of people maybe would help her feel better. And she wanted her to be more known, or maybe just have like a larger circle of friends. So let's see. She feels Anne's judgment of Bath was affected by bad experiences, and that she does not yet realizes what the city has to offer. Let's see. That's potentially. Let's see. We know they kind of mention her not liking Bath in this first paragraph, and that it will help her, and that the city will help her in the second paragraph. So that's at least a maybe. Let's keep reading the answers. B. Anne loves going to Bath and visits whenever she can. We know that's not true because up here it says Anne's dislike of Bath. She considered it as a prejudice and mistake arising from the first circumstance of having been there 3 years at school, her mother's death, from her happening not to be in perfectly good spirits the only winter which she spent there with herself. Okay, so basically bad experiences and what the city had to offer. So that still seems kind of like the best answer, but we know definitely it's not B. She didn't like it. So let's mark that one completely out. And see, Anne was born in Bath. It doesn't say anything about that. And Anne loves Roman buildings. Well, it definitely doesn't say anything about Roman buildings. So that means the best answer, and the one kind of cited the most in the first and third paragraph, is going to be A. Now, this is kind of an interesting example of how the answer for this is kind of split apart. We saw that part of the answer, Anne didn't like Bath because her mom died and she was by herself in winter, and that down here in the second paragraph, a larger society would improve her spirits. More than likely on the GED reading exam and the science and social studies test, you're going to see the answer in one specific place. It's very rare that you'll see it like this, but again, it's important to be comfortable and flexible to hunt for the answer. Because if you're always thinking, wait, there's always one answer and it's always in one specific place, that's not true. It's important to be flexible and comfortable taking the test. Instead of just saying, well, wait, the answer has to be, in a certain place. Don't think that. Okay, let's read the third question again. Let's see, why does Lady Russell agree with Sir Walter that moving into a smaller house in the same neighborhood would be a bad idea? Okay, well, let's see. I don't remember her saying why it's a bad idea, so if we have to read it over again, no big deal. But let's read the answers and see if we can find it quicker. She thinks it would not be as nice as their present one. I don't remember that. She thinks it might be too expensive. She fears it might be too far away from her. She feels that it would be too humiliating for the family. Well, let's see. We know that Sir Walter could not have borne the degradation of having known to design letting his house. So he was really prideful about not giving his house away. Let's see. And let's see, it would be too much to expect Sir Walter to descend into a small house in their own neighborhood. But it doesn't say why Lady Russell says it's a bad idea. Let's keep reading. Was fond of Bath. Let's see, she was disposed to think it must suit them all, and her young friend's health. Let's see, the undesirableness of any other house in the same neighborhood for Sir Walter was certainly much strengthened by one part. Let's see, he didn't want to give it up. Well, it's not there. Let's read the answers again. So again, if you can't find it, keep kind of comparing notes with the answers and what's in the article. Okay, well, let's skim through the answers and see which ones we can immediately mark out. She thinks it would not be as nice as their present one. Well, she doesn't really say that because they're talking about how, or the only thing they mention is that, let's see, that Anne's spirits need to be picked up, and that Sir Walter just doesn't want to give up his house. So that doesn't seem like that's the reason. So let's mark that one out. It might be too expensive. That really isn't mentioned anywhere, because again, it's more about her spirits and what the city can offer, and kind of has to do with Sir Walter not wanting to give up the house. So definitely not as too expensive, and she fears it might be too far away from her. Well, never mentions anywhere that it's too far away from her, that she needs to be closer. So we know that's definitely can't be the answer. So that only leaves us with one answer, D. She feels it would be too humiliating for the family. Well, the only reason I would say that would be the answer is because they have this whole last paragraph devoted to Sir Walter and just generally not wanting to give up his house. So there could be a number of reasons, but that's the only one that's really mentioned, and that's the only answer that correlates to what's in the actual article. So that would be the best answer for that question. So again, by using the process of elimination, we found the answer without really worrying too much about finding this most specific answer. What we did, we found the best answer for the question. And remember, that's what you want to do if you're having a problem finding an answer. And that ends this lesson.